All right, Bray's gonna fucking kill me because I'm gonna take the host job.
What's going on?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cleany Weenie Hut podcast. I'm your host, Nick Manders, joined by fellow cleaners David Dan, Adam Jansen, and Malar Patil. And today's dirty deduction: what do you guys find you look for in athletes that you coach? Like when you're onboarding a client or whatever, what are some things that you look for? What do you find in current athletes that, you know, makes a good athlete or even breaks an athlete? Like what are traits that we find desirable or even undesirable in athletes that we coach? Like in essence, what makes a good athlete from a coach's perspective?
I think having a growth mindset. So what I mean by that is I like athletes who see failure in like reps or sets or whatever, like failure in their training more as data than being like defeated. So this kind of goes back to our last podcast, if anyone watched that, about goldfish.
If anyone watched that.
Kind of like goldfish memory, whereas we're not too worried about dwelling on our mistakes and more worried about what we'll take the data of the failures to improve on like technique and stuff like that.
Yeah, so like some critical thinking almost, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, because I personally hate when clients expect me to just be their brain entirely, which like I think can be a good trait. I think that's very much like the poisons in the dose. Like you don't want anyone too neurotic, obviously, but at the same time, you don't want anyone that just puts zero thought into their training and expects you to just take all of it and figure it out, right?
I think everybody kind of has, I don't know, I feel like everyone who's in powerlifting kind of has a growth mindset. They kind of want to grow and get better over time. So I don't know if it's like, you don't think people want to get better?
I don't agree with you.
Adam's
I do not agree with you.
Adam's shaking his head.
I do not agree with you.
You don't think everybody just wants to get better?
No, dude. There's so many people pouring into the sport, and then they get hooked because they make gains early on in training because it's easy, and then they start pouting and bitching the moment they hit some troublesome times. It's absolutely not true. That's the dangerous part about powerlifting is it's so rewarding initially, and then it gets so challenging, and that's why so many people quit. I don't think everyone has a growth mindset because then we wouldn't see these sub-junior burnouts, junior burnouts. Right? Like people would hang around longer if they had a growth mindset.
Yeah,
you talk about it all the time.
So you're saying growth mindset is someone who like knows that after that initial fire, it's gonna burn, it's gonna die, and then you're gonna have to work again.
Yeah, having a little bit of common sense, like Nick said, is probably valuable in this situation if you want to be a good powerlifter.
Yeah.
So
like
take that back. Take that back, Malhard.
I feel like
I think I misunderstood what you guys meant by growth. I think I thought you meant like nobody wants to get like, because there's a aspiration to get better, and then it kind of dies down, and then it's who actually wants to keep going kind of thing. So there's two sets of growth.
The way you could differentiate it is that like Mally, you're saying that like everyone wants to be good. Like everyone wants to just be good at the sport. But David's saying that like you want people that want to become good at the sport. Like there's that difference between the process of being good and just I want to just be there. Like there's no dedication or even desire to be in that period between, right?
Right.
We don't want people that are just like, I just want to get there, because then it makes it so much harder to get there because you're neglecting, all the shit that goes into it. Am I making sense of this?
Yeah, I would say that's probably one of my biggest pet peeves with athletes, though, are the people who say they want to be good and they're really into this and they're putting in effort. I know you're not. I know you're slacking. I know you're not doing stuff out of the gym. I know you're just lying to me. So they say they want to be good, and I'm sure they do want to be good, but they're not willing to put the effort to get to that point, right? That's going to set you up for failure. So, and there's a lot of people like that in the sport. That's probably a majority of people in this sport.
Yeah, that kind of brings me into like when I look for an athlete, I think everyone, when you initially start with them, they kind of have this like excitement or like, oh, new coach, you know, like if you're the second or third coach or something like that, they're like, oh my God, this is going to be so sick. Or even if you're the first coach, they're like, oh, this is going to be so cool. Now they know what I'm supposed to do. And then that initial spark kind of dies down. It's kind of like a honeymoon phase between powerlifting, them, and the coaching relationship. And they get into this phase of like, maybe they're far away from a competition. They're kind of like just chilling out. And now their like motivation and everything is low. And I kind of want clients, I'm looking for clients, especially in that initial call. I'm kind of looking for people who maybe I can see, oh, during that phase, they might just be able to ride it out and work. And then the spark will come back, or it might never come back. But I'm kind of looking for that right away. I'm like, is this person going to just dwindle away during that phase, or are they going to like ride through this?
Yeah, everyone wants to be a world champion. Doesn't seem like a lot of people want to just be an athlete. You know what I mean?
But also like understanding, like I'm not out there looking for like the next perk. You know what I'm saying? I'm okay coaching people who are not going to be that perk, but I want them to be like, what I'm trying to say is I want them to be okay with not being good and figuring out what else is in powerlifting and what they can grow during those like shitty phases. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're all
Yeah,
going to have
please.
like maybe one or two clients who are really good or have a lot of potential, but majority of our roster is probably not going to be that good, or probably doesn't even have the potential to be that good.
Hey, speak for yourself. I got killers. I got
No, I mean, I got shooters too, but I'm just saying that like in there's some people who probably won't get to like that 0.001%. So I'm like, how do I keep these people like engaged with powerlifting without the spark of like, oh my God, you're going to be the best?
Yeah, so ultimately what you're saying is you're looking for consistency through
Yeah.
the up the powerlifting. Yeah, which
Yeah.
is important. Consistency is probably the major driving factor to become successful in this sport. Right? Look at Nick. He's still consistent. He ain't lifting shit right now, but he's still consistent and doing what
Hey
he can.
man, I saw the guy front squat like 2 plates the other day. You shut the fuck up.
That's not even true. I'm done with lower body work until my leg heals. I've went to the gym 4 times this week, which for me is drastically low. But anyway, moving on. Let's not talk about me too much.
Well, I actually think that's a good next point though, is like something a lot of lifters struggle with is getting hurt and not freaking the fuck out about it super quickly.
We all love a bit of grit. I think that like, you know, if CSF has one term that we've really loved to throw around for the last couple of years, it's grit. I feel like we love a gritty athlete. I don't know if any coach would ever be like, I want my athlete to be a bitch, you know? And like, I mean, it even goes with like David's thing with like having that growth mindset where it's like someone that has that grit is also going to be able to find something positive in, you know, the negative periods of training, right? Like when you're super injured and everything, if they have that mindset of I'm using the sport to grow as a person and I'm willing to go through the shittiness of it, like, you know, when it comes about, then they can start to collect some like silver linings and some lessons from it versus someone that, you know, just wants to be a world champion, doesn't care about how they get there. As soon as they get injured, catastrophe, it's fucking over, right? Mally, what do you find you really look for in your athletes beyond just, you know, a growth mindset or
I'm looking for people. I think I look for people who want to work hard. You know, like I don't want people who are like, if I see someone who's lazy right off the bat in the first call, like this goes with the growth mindset, like they don't want to really grind through it all. I'm like, I'm already not in it, right? Like if I see someone who's like, if I know that they have history with other coaches of like complaining or like not really putting in the effort, I'm not gonna coach them. I don't like coaching them, especially like if you go through within examples of like people who are, it probably hurts me the most when I see people with a lot of potential who come to me because they're like, now we're reputable coaches and they go, okay, this coach is good. So I want to go to this person and like get really good at this sport. But they have no work ethic. Like their schedules will shift all the time. Their priorities aren't straight. They're kind of just like not wanting to do any of it. And then the other hand, you get an athlete who has insane potential and they'll put in work without me even asking them. Right? Like people who are like doing cardio 4 or 5 times a week, macros are on track, everything is perfect, training is never shifted, everything is like, and they're working a proper full-time job, taking care of their shit at home. I'm not asking them to do that because I'm not their dad, right? That almost has to come from within. So I'm kind of in that initial call. I'm looking at like, is this person going to work hard or do I have to force them to work hard? Because I don't want to go and be like, you need to work harder, you need to do more. I'm not that person. I'm not going to do that to you. If you're not going to put in the effort, I'm probably going to drop your ass.
Have you ever had an athlete that works too hard?
Well, that's actually that's a good problem to have because
What does that mean?
sometimes
What does working too hard mean?
Do you not have any athletes that like overdo it? Like they
yeah,
just
of
like
course.
pile
what's
on the
that,
extra,
though?
like
Of
so
course.
I'm personally okay with it. I just like level with them that like, you know, I have actually a handful of athletes that will like want to do well beyond, you know, I think what they could probably handle reasonably, like physical labor job. I want to do powerlifting. I also want to run a half marathon. I also want to do BJJ, where it's like, look, you only have so much juice in the tank, right? Like you're running yourself real thin. We're going to have to take away, you know, some resources from, you know, these other things so we can put them in other ones. And like, does that become a problem for you guys? Are you guys okay with catering towards that? Or is that like, you know, I want to make powerlifters, and if they can't, you know, put all of their like hardworking effort into that, that becomes like a problem. Like, how do you guys deal with that if you have to deal with it at all?
Thanks for the clarification, Nicholas. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I think with athletes like that, honestly, some coaches may not like that because they want their athletes to be purely powerlifters. But I do have a lot of athletes who do other sports and do other exercises, such like, I don't know, if they play soccer recreationally or volleyball. I still like to program them, and I think it's kind of a fun way to make the coach, so us, think outside the box, whereas not every athlete is within the box of powerlifting only. Because like this kind of goes back to what Mally said, as in like not everyone is going to be the best powerlifter in the world. So obviously athletes like this enjoy recreational sports. And with that, I think it's our job as coaches to program them in a way that they can still do activities outside of powerlifting that they enjoy. And therefore their morale will be up and their training will be up as well, because they're not doing just only powerlifting while wishing they could be doing other stuff as well.
Yeah, I think David makes a really good point. I think adherence is probably one of the most important things as a coach to watch out for. Like adherence in training, people's phases, and like we were talking about like that down phase. If they're like having trouble with like adherence, it's our job to like kind of bring them out of it, but it's also their job to meet you halfway and be like, this might be the point to like chill out. Or like when you're saying they want to play different sports, it's our job to understand that, okay, this right now their priority is not powerlifting. And for us as an athlete, that might be hard to understand, because for us, we're always like powerlifting is a priority for us to be at a high level. But we have to understand that sometimes athletes kind of need that period of, you know, adherence of where they're still enjoying life, another sport, but they're still powerlifting. Like it's still part of their life, but it's not the main focus.
I have an answer. To next question. Yeah, I do think it could be an issue. And I think the most important thing in this situation and something I do right off the get-go is I just set expectations, right? Like if someone's super busy and then they tell me all this crazy stuff they want to do while they're trying to manage all these other things, no, you can't do that. It's not happening. Like you are not becoming a national champion with your life set up like this. I will make that very clear, because if I just let them run with it and I make them think that it is possible with their crazy hectic life, and then they're disappointed, they're just going to end up quitting anyways, right? So I'm honest about the situation. We set some realistic expectations so we have some decent goals to continue chasing, right? And we don't deal with this massive disappointment of, oh my God, I didn't become a national champion, or I'm not going to Worlds. It's like, yeah, no shit. You're working 12 hours a day and you're playing a casual sport on the side as well. It's like, of course it's not going to happen. Now, maybe there's an exception to that rule. Obviously, maybe there's an exception to the rule, but setting expectations is going to be super important with people like that. Because otherwise, what are we just going to gaslight them into being, yeah, you can do it? Like, where's the value there?
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, I think there's a difference in like your athlete, right? Like if an athlete is trying to be a national champion or a world champion or whatever, they should already understand what it takes. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, they should already know that like this has to be a priority. You have to be able to give it 100%. You can't be a world champ, a national champ without this being the something has to go. Like something in your life has to be like, okay, this is not going to be, I'm going to have to lose something to gain this. And if that's not something you want, then as a coach, I have to tell you that, okay, something you're not doing everything it takes right now. So maybe change your expectations. Another thing, and with Nick's question, I had an answer. If someone is working too hard from like a programming perspective,
well, that's on you.
No, yeah, but I kind of like like if I see someone who's kind of like working too hard, a good example would be like they always think they're not doing enough, so they push accessories to like RP12. They'll push like top sets really hard. So it's that kind of stuff. Obviously, we have conversations about it, but also caps, telling them that like the accessory RP is actually there for a reason. I want you to push when I say I want you to push, and I want you to not push when I'm saying chill out. Like that kind of, like telling them which days are important, which days you need to push, which days you just need to pocket. Those kind of things I think are very important for an athlete like that. It's an easier problem to have than someone who doesn't want to work hard though. Someone who doesn't want to work hard is just like, it's something from within, which I hate coaching, and I just like go, I'm done with you kind of thing. Maybe that's a bad thing on my part as a coach, but I hate it. I can't relate to it in any way because I'm not like that. So I'm like, I don't want to fuck with this right now.
I hate leading a horse to water and the fucking thing won't drink.
Fuck, dude.
But it does segue actually into like the next question I wanted to ask, which is like, do we like, and like this is a genuine question, this isn't like me, taking the piss, is like, do we like stubborn and maybe even delusional athletes? Because I think to some extent, like I find that there's a lot of potential in those kind of mindsets, because it's like, to some extent, you have to kind of fake it till you make it. Like, I don't think anyone that made it great didn't believe early on that they were going to be great, to everyone going like, you're out of your mind, right? But also, that can become a roadblock when it comes to like athlete-coach communication if they're like, overly stubborn and overly delusional. But is that something that we try to, or it gets you guys individually, do we try to like, morph that to something more conducive to the process? Or is that something that like we just see it purely as a red flag, and it's like we need to just like no more stubbornness, no more delusion, we need to be very realistic about things? Do you guys find that that's something that you want to just take away or try to mold?
I think it's important to, with people like that who are maybe a little bit delusional with their goals, I do think it's important. Like you need to believe in yourself, of course, but the aspect that needs to be molded is ability to set more realistic goals in the short term, right? Like we can have this big goal that we're chasing down in the future, but we still need to be able to set realistic goals to actually get us there. It becomes an issue when their long-term goal is delusional and their short-term goals are delusional, and we're chasing crazy numbers at the end of each block. Our pacing is messed up constantly. We're burning out on week 2, week 3 of a block. Then it becomes problematic. But they can have this massive goal. They could be like, hey, Adam, I want to become a world champion, and they're not even competitive nationally yet. But if I see them making good training decisions, I'm like, damn, we're trending really well. We're making good progress block to block. That's really rewarding for both the athlete and the coach. So delusion, okay, long term, but we need to narrow the field of view a little bit, put on the blinders, and make some good short-term decisions to get there. So if they're not able to do that, then they're cooked. Don't talk to me.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Adam. Adam has a really good point there. You can have a far-fetched goal. Like you're like, okay, I want to be a world champ. But it's important to not just look at that dangling carrot if you're so far away from it. Like you have to understand that there's work to be done on the way there. And then you and your coach have to have that kind of relationship to build blocks and build over a long, long period of time. But to answer your question, Nick, my clients, it's like unk phase, but I kind of look at them as my kids. So telling my kids don't have a good big dream feels weird to me, Like if I have my kid who goes, Daddy, I want to be a pilot, and I go, don't fucking do that. You're an idiot. I feel bad doing that. But also you want to help them. You want to help them figure out how to get there. Like, okay, you want to be a pilot, you have to graduate high school first. You need good marks, and then you go to university. You get good grades there, blah, 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 blah. So it's kind of like teaching them how to get to that point versus just letting them be delusional and then say, no, you're an idiot, or yeah, let's just do that and forget how to get there kind of thing. So I feel like that's very important. Does that make sense? Did I just say stupid shit?
No, you basically
always do.
You basically said the same thing Adam did, which I totally agree with as well. Like we need to set small goals that will lead up to the big one. So I definitely agree with all you guys.
Guys, stop copying my answer.
I said it better. I said
it just makes sense.
Way.
Okay, so we all agree on the delusion of at least the long-term goal being more or less a good thing, right? As long as the process leading up to it, is relatively realistic. Absolutely. And I think that's our goal, or even our job as coaches, is to just we don't create objectives, but we help people get there, right? And this is something I've been thinking about a lot, is how we help athletes get to that goal. It requires buy-in and trust, right? So, coming back to stubbornness a bit, an athlete that is, extremely stubborn about the process, I find can become quite problematic. But at the same time, there needs to be a balance, because I also find that athletes that take my word as complete dogma have a different problem entirely. Do you guys, have the same kind of issue where the stubbornness of the process can become a bit of, a problem? Either there's not enough buy-in where the athlete almost begins to not trust you, but also I find that there can almost be too much buy-in where the athlete just trusts me entirely to the point that if I make a mistake, because I'm a human, I do make those mistakes, it almost goes by, unchecked, right? I almost want a more back and forth sort of relationship where I keep the athlete in check, but the athlete also keeps me in check. Is that something that you guys struggle with your own, relationships?
For sure. I would say, yeah, I think I try to create a very independent athlete. I'm there. We're going to have conversations about it. We want to make sure we're learning together. I'm learning them, they're learning me. But over time, I'm trying to create an independent athlete who can make decisions on the day that are correct, but also they're paying for a service, so they should be keeping me in check as well, right? They should be making sure, as easy as it sounds, if you're still a coach who doesn't deliver programs on time, just quit, do something else. I don't know. If you can't deliver one program, you're an idiot. But if your coach isn't delivering programs on time, if they're messing up programs, stuff like that, like they need to be called out because you're paying for that service. I think that's important. But I think if a client is kind of just like not able to think, I think that can become dangerous. So I'm always trying to create independent athletes over time.
Yeah, like obvious stuff aside, like not getting your program in on time. Like Mally, what would you do if like you sent out a program on time and an athlete looked at it and just went like, look, I'll go with it if that's what you want, but I have some questions about the program. I don't know if this is like going to be conducive looking at my past history. How do you deal with that? How do you cope with that? Like, do you tell your athlete, shut up?
No, I think I love it when an athlete tells me, like, when they question it, like, let's say I just got a new athlete, they're peaking for the first time with me or something like that, and they have questions about it. I want them to ask me because I think that's very important, because that also makes me know that, like, okay, I am doing the right thing. I have a reason for what I'm doing, but also they're kind of thinking about like, oh, what are we actually doing here? What's the purpose of this set? What's the purpose of this RPE? Or what am I doing right now? Why do I feel like crap at the moment? Am I supposed to feel like shit, or Mally just doesn't know what the hell he's doing, or did I push too hard, kind of thing? So I think it's very important. So when they do come to me with that kind of questioning, I will tell them my reasoning, and if our reasonings don't match, maybe I need to do something, or I need to explain to them that, no, this is what I meant. This is what needs to happen for you to get where we want to get you. So I think it's quite important.
All of this is just increasing buy-in, though. When someone understands what they're doing, why they're doing it, they're going to believe in it, and then they're going to do better.
Yeah.
Right? Like, this is all just focused on buy-in.
Yeah. I love that, though. Like, I love it when athletes kind of question my programming or they have questions about it, because the way I coach my athletes and program is very collaborative in a sense. So if they have any questions on why they're doing a movement, they'll ask. I'll be like, okay, this is why we're doing it. We're doing it for X, Y, and Z. This is the purpose of it. This is what it's going to target. Like, this is for this X weakness or whatever it is. I kind of just love that, because then it kind of helps me understand the athlete. And I guess it also falls into like communication, right? If athletes are communicating like, this movement isn't the greatest and stuff like that, we can work together to find something that will target what we're trying to do before, but something that is a lot more accessible or easier for them to perform, that doesn't like mess them up in any way. So I don't know.
I will say this, though. I will say this. There definitely is a limit to it. And I'm going to talk from personal experience. We've all been coached minus Nick. And there was a couple times when I was working with Tim Monagatti, where he would program something that I didn't quite understand because I haven't done it before. But I asked no questions. I ran it. And then I kind of just tried to develop my thoughts on it throughout the block. Right? Like, I was maybe a little confused about why I was doing it, but I didn't jump at him like, hey, why am I doing this right now? I didn't ask for a specific reason. I kind of wanted to figure it out on my own throughout the process. Like, how do I feel by the end of the block? And then at the end of the block, if it was productive, I could go, hey, I had these initial thoughts at first, and this is how they changed over the course of the block. Or, maybe I had this thought at the beginning of the block and it turned out to be true and it didn't go how I was hoping, and maybe we can modify it going into the next one. But I try not to I tried not to hound Tim with questions right off the get-go. I would feel it out for the block. Let's see what happens without questioning it too much, and trying to keep like more of a neutral bias to it, right? Because if you set a bias too early, then you're donezo, right? It's
definitely the opposite from you then.
Oh, I would run with it. Like, it doesn't mean I wasn't thinking about it. It didn't mean I didn't have thoughts, but I'll see it through. I'll put all my effort into performing it to the best of my ability. And a lot of the time I actually surprised myself. I was like, holy shit, this turned out a lot better than I thought it was going to.
Yeah, I'm totally different. I honestly, because like Natalie coaches me. So if she'd program me something, I'll ask her like, oh, why is this in the program? And then she'll explain to me, this is why. It helps me as an athlete to go through that movement with purpose and intent, with the goal of ending the block to improve what was the reason why she added that. Because if I don't know, if I don't know why it's added, I'm just going to do the movement aimlessly, and I'm not going to know why am I doing it, and there's not going to be much intent behind it. But that's just me personally.
Maybe it's more so just like from an experience thing though, because I've been doing this so long. I have an idea of why he's trying to do everything that he is programming. It's not like I don't know why he's adding something in. I'm just not quite sold on it yet. But I'll run it and give it all my effort. And like I said, 99% of the time with Tim, it like worked out really, really well. And I was happy I just was an athlete and just did it.
That's interesting because I get coached by Tim too. And
no way, dude. No way.
But the same kind of mentality as what Adam has, like just run it. But I think we've kind of got to the point of like independence to the point of I pretty much tell Tim, this is what I think is going to work. What do you think? And he goes, I could be convinced. And then we kind of talk about it and then it works or it doesn't work. But we kind of like have that back and forth of like, I think something is going to work. He's like, oh, this could work. Maybe this won't work. And he'll tell me straight up. He's like, that's stupid. Let's not do that. Or he'll be like, that might work. And then we kind of put it together and make a program together.
Yeah.
But my programming with him is turned into a very much like, let's kind of create a program together versus here, Tim, here are the keys, fix it kind of thing.
But who has final say?
Well, Tim, because that's why I pay him. That's why I trust him, right?
And you're willing to do that, right? Like you are
For
willing
sure,
to just be like, if push comes to shove, he has final say.
Yeah, for sure.
I will say one thing we can probably all agree on for both an athlete and a coach, though.
Nope.
Is we hate a know-it-all. It's the worst. If a coach is a know-it-all or if an athlete's a know-it-all, it's so tough. I've worked with a couple people who think they know everything, and it was a super difficult process. Like I was explaining everything constantly all the time. It was a very, very frustrating process. That can be a tricky situation to deal with as a coach of just like working with a client who genuinely thinks they know everything already. And to the point where it's like, dude, I don't need to coach you. Like you can go do your own thing. Like I'm not trying to force you to be here, dude. Like there definitely is an extent to where it becomes unproductive. 100%.
Yeah, I think that my ideal trait actually in an athlete, and I didn't even come to this, podcast episode with this in mind. It kind of come to me now with this conversation, is that like Mally said, I kind of want someone that grows to become independent. I want to create a critical thinker that can then work with me collaboratively and asks a lot of questions, like David said, asks a lot of whys, so then we can develop a deeper buy-in process. Because like you said, Adam, buy-in is everything. And I think ultimately what it boils down to, at least for this little aspect, is like you want an athlete that comes to you willing to learn, right? And I think that becomes so important, is that like they don't come to you stupid or like, expecting that they know nothing at all and like they're just willing to like throw it all away. They'll come to you with confidence and knowledge, but with a willingness to open up their repertoire of knowledge, to hear you out on things. They come to you very much as a student comes to a teacher looking to learn and maybe challenge some ideas, but ultimately, they pay you for your ideas as a coach, right? Mm. And the ideal eventually is that you do teach them enough that, this process becomes more collaborative, more independent, more critical. They can, like Adam said, you can give them stuff, and instead of them having to ask why, they've developed their own, set of knowledge where they can start, maybe developing their own buy-in for a movement or process. And then they can come to you later with like, is this why we're doing it? And maybe they're right, maybe they're wrong, but then you can talk about it more, collaborate, and then eventually even as a coach, you can start learning from your athletes, and it becomes a very symbiotic relationship. But it only works if, honestly, both parties come into it with the desire to learn.
Yeah.
Well said.
I have an interesting, I don't know if you guys are going to agree with this. You guys might completely disagree. Sorry, yeah, that was interesting. But I have a thing that I kind of look for here and there, but I don't know if this is something you guys would agree with. I kind of look for clients, or I kind of get excited with clients who I feel like are learning so much from me, and then without a competitive standpoint, but they can kind of take take the knowledge and give it to other clients of theirs. Like, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm trying to say? Like, if I can't coach 500 people, I can coach the number I'm capable of coaching. But if I created an athlete who now understands it's so good, they can now coach 50 people, and then they coach someone who can now coach 50 people. I get happy when I see that, because I'm like, oh, I just created this huge like line of coaches. I
Mouse-
get excited when I see that. I don't know
Passing
if
on
that's
the
something
knowledge.
Mal is creating a pyramid scheme.
With him right at the top.
No, I
But-
agree. Actually, some of my favorite people to coach are coaches. I coach a lot of coaches. And it is a very fun process.
Yeah. Like like David makes me so excited, because I used to coach David, but now he's a phenomenal coach. And I think that's really cool, because we used to have a lot of like back and forth learning and stuff. And now he's turned into such a good coach. And I thought that was a really cool process, and I want to do that more.
You know what this reminds me of? For all my anime lovers out there,
The fuck?
My Hero
Bro.
Academia.
I want to say I found this
He's like,
thing.
you're like
I
all my
found this-
passing on the all for one.
I found this meme the other day that said men who love anime go down like 10 points for women. So I'm
Okay,
glad you're
I'm
married, because
Yeah,
that's
just imagine.
I don't even know what David said, bro.
Do we like athletes that are into anime?
Yes, we
I don't-
love them. They're the grittiest.
Dude, I felt like Naruto on this set, bro.
Hell
Dude, today
yeah.
I felt like fucking Spike Spiegel from Cowboy Bebop. I carried that weight, bro. I know my shit.
Those are the best athletes, okay? Because they're the most genuine and they try all the time.
Bro, I don't understand anime, so I have no way to relate to people who like anime.
You can just
That's
turn on
okay.
subtitles, man.
I'm not talking about the
It's a lot-
language.
it's a lot easier to You can just read it, dude. Like, I don't get Japanese either. Konnichiwa. I know that. That's hello.
I don't think, is that Japanese? That's not.
That's definitely
you-
Japanese.
Oh,
Dude,
okay.
come on now.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anything else that you really like or dislike in an athlete in terms of like mindset? You know, because we're not going to talk about physicality. I really look for an athlete with like short femurs, so I don't have to teach them how to squat. You know,
What do you guys think about? What do you guys think about? This is kind of a, if I was an athlete looking for a coach. What do you guys think about athletes who go, oh, I should only get coached by these guys because they're high level athletes themselves, or look for a coach who's kind of decorated in being an athlete?
I get it, and I also think it's stupid. Like, I understand it for like a specific subset of people. Maybe it makes sense. Like, if you are someone that needs more like motivation, almost in a sense, like I find that like some athletes, they don't necessarily need like a bunch of programming or technique stuff. It's more just like when the going gets tough, they kind of need like a kick in the ass. Maybe then finding a high level athlete that also is a coach, you can maybe like see like how do they deal with it. Maybe it's more relatable and everything. But there's also some athletes that just think, look, I can't trust a coach unless they can lift, which is like an incoherent fallacy to me, right? Like, some of the best coaches in the game suck at lifting. Steve DeNovi is the prime example, right? One of the best coaches, you know, has coached world champions. Dude's built like a self-admitted string bean. I'm sure he won't listen to this. Maybe Sean listens to this and sends it to him. Steve knows this, right? But
Aw,
like,
man. I
you
think
but you
he's
aren't
doing
going
great.
to write off Steve DeNovi because he doesn't have a 500 Wilks, right?
Mhm.
Though some people will, and I genuinely think that those people are dumb. Like, I just can't fathom that kind of thinking, right?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I think it's really stupid. I think it's usually just juniors, though. I think if you're looking for a coach, you should look at. I
The
think
junior.
you think you should be looking at like, do you relate to them in like a personality sense? I think personality is very important when it comes to coaching. That's one thing I'm also looking for. Like, okay, is this person going to work well with me? Am I going to like get through to them? Because if I have a personality conflict, I don't like coaching them because I think that's one of the most anybody can type a program. Some not anybody. Most people can type a program. But if you don't have the people skill with some specific individuals, it's never going to work. So I think you should look for someone whose personality would probably mesh with you, um, who has a good understanding. So you can look at like their now everybody puts up videos and stuff like that. If they're kind of putting up outdated stuff, then you kind of know that maybe that's a really bad coach. Or if someone is kind of just has really mediocre athletes who are not really making any progress. Sorry, I shouldn't say they have only mediocre athletes. I should say people who are just not getting any better or improving in any way. That's a good sign of a bad coach. But I think personality is the most important because that's something I look for when I'm getting new clients. I'm like, am I going to work well with this person? Because I don't want to work with someone who I just I can't get through to.
Are there specific personality traits you like either look for or avoid? I know that that's kind of like already a rehash of this entire episode, but like just in terms of less performance-based personality traits, if you will, like what are you looking for in terms of just like something that you jive with, like less, more neurotic stuff like that?
Is cocky a personality? Cocky is probably a personality that I hate. If I see someone who's kind of like already thinks they're the best and they don't really need to do a lot, I'm kind of like, eh. And then someone who's maybe very not focused and I need to tell them how to be focused. That's kind of talking about the same thing, but I think you can tell from an initial call. But I think we've done a good job as a company of building a reputation where we don't even get reached out by people who don't have personalities that would jive with us. And then we also have enough like dynamic in our coaches where people would be like, oh, I could work with this person and not this person, and then want to be part of the entire umbrella.
I have an answer. I look for people who can take responsibility. It makes my job really easy, right? Someone who can take responsibility by saying, hey, training's not going good right now because I'm fucking up all these things. That's helpful for me because now I know, well, they just need to sort out their life and I don't need to make any significant changes to the programming. But someone who does take responsibility and they're like, hey, I am completely locked in with my sleep, nutrition, everything. My mind's right and training's still not going good. I can trust that the programming is not working and I need to make some significant changes to programming, right? So it makes my job easy because when they tell me something, I believe them, right? And I can make the necessary changes. And then the other big thing is like, we're all going to mess up sometimes. Like we're all going to like slack one week or whatever. If they can take responsibility and admit that and things are going poorly, it's just like, okay, just take the time you need, get it sorted, and then we'll be back in business. So I would say responsibility is a big one. One thing I don't like is a victim. I won't elaborate.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. Yeah.
I will elaborate. But like someone who's just so someone who's so quick to blame everyone but themselves. Obviously, this is just the opposite of someone who takes responsibility. It's the same thing. It's just but like people who just have to blame everything on anything but themselves. That just drives me nuts.
Yeah, I love when an athlete comes to me and they go, I want to do this, but I also know I need to do this and this and this. This is why I need to work with you, kind of thing, versus, oh, my old coach did this, he did that, or they did that, and then I was telling him what to do, and this didn't work, and this didn't work, and I'm like, okay, let's also backtrack and kind of figure out what can you do, because everybody can do a little bit better, personally.
I have no idea what you just said. What was that, bro?
I think maybe he's like talking about like an overly neurotic athlete. I do think that like it's such a golden trait to have someone that is both responsible and also has the critical thinking necessary to like be able to pinpoint stuff, because as a coach we always have to like, we are on the outside looking in, right? So there are so many variables and so much noise, right, that we need to like navigate. And an athlete is going to have a much clearer perspective of what all that noise is. So, you know, they're on the ground floor. If they can figure out a lot of what's going on and really present to us stuff that we can deal with, it's such a golden trait because it makes our job so much easier, right? Like if I know an athlete is responsible, is consistent, has everything taken care of, and they send me a bad week, I'm not going to ask them, have you been sleeping? I don't need to, right? I can just, all right, it's likely going to be, you know, stuff that we can immediately deal with, right? Maybe it's programming, maybe it's technique, maybe it's blah, blah, blah. But I'm not going to have to ask, like, were you partying this weekend? Okay, yeah, I maybe was. Yeah, that's why it feels like shit, right? Or like Mally maybe was saying, I don't know. It was just like, you know, someone that is overly neurotic where they send you, you know, they try to pinpoint the answer too much and they try to just send you like, I think it's this, and that. Then you have more noise and you're like, I don't know if it's any of that. I know you think it is. Now I also need to deal with the problem of like, if we do isolate maybe what the answer is, I need to buy you into this now because you think it's, I'm sleeping 8 hours, I need to sleep 8.5. And it's like, maybe, fuck, I don't know. Or like, my primary day feels better on a day, you know, we need an 8-week cycle instead of a 7-week cycle because blah, 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 blah. Like some crazy, neurotic, noisy shit where it's like, maybe you're right, but there's so much going on right now. I don't know. You don't know. We're just guessing, right? We don't ever want that.
Mal, is that what you were trying to say?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Yo,
Maybe it's your fucking fault.
Well said.
thanks for the translation, Nick. I really appreciate that translation. Oh, I agree 100%. 100% I agree.
Yeah.
In closing, do you guys want to try to like line out the perfect athlete, or do you think we've done that?
I don't think there's a perfect athlete.
There's a fucking perfect athlete. What do you mean?
I think for like the
critical
quote
thinking
unquote
soldier.
perfect athlete, I think it only takes a few things for me as a coach. I think it'd go to what Adam was saying, you know, self responsibility. What I was saying, growth mindset, communication, and I guess like consistency, what Adam was saying before. And I guess to throw it all together would be like a buy-in. So I think all that together would probably make the best athlete. Everything we kind of just talked about.
Wait, I have one more thing I look for in an athlete.
Short femurs.
Someone who is good at channeling the needed emotions to perform well. I don't know if you guys seen lifters who are just so nonchalant, like they never look like they're focused in training and they have like a heavy set coming up. They just don't have that schizo mentality. You know what I mean? Someone who can get a little bit freaky with it when top sets or a big block comes around. You know what I mean? Whether that means getting angry, sad.
I call it the oomph. If anyone's got the oomph, and I feel like there's athletes who I've like coached, and then like for the first period of time when I'm coaching them, they're kind of like, you know, they're going through workouts, they're doing good. It could even be a whole year, and then something happens and it just switches, and they turn into this person who they can like push themselves. And I'm like, oh, I love this. I'm so excited for this new phase. This has been happening to one of my athletes recently, and I'm so happy to see it happen because it wasn't like I didn't have to push them. It kind of just like something clicked. And so now they're like fired up, or so you can see like their sets are more effort. Everything is given, like they're putting in all that work. And I'm like, I love that. I love seeing when that happens in an athlete.
Yeah. So I think having a strong emotional understanding is important, like being able to tap into that when you need to. But on the flip side, being able to pull away from it when we don't need it, right? So we can actually sustain the mental state properly through training cycles. Right. Like sometimes we don't need to be that stimulated for, you know, a week or two or a block even, but the ability to like really make it happen when we need to. That's a trait not everyone has. Like I have some lifters who get, dude, they get locked in. They make it happen.
Gritty.
Yeah,
Gotta
they got the grit.
gritty.
Yeah, so it is nice to see in some of my lifters. Not like I said, not everyone can do it, but some people are unreal at it. Like they really understand what emotions they need to activate in a sense to perform well, and that's interesting because I mean I do that too, right? Like
Yeah.
I know what state I need to be in to perform well. So the ability to do that and figure that out for yourself is really important.
Since David put up an anime comparison, I'm gonna put up a basketball comparison. I always think about like training, like LeBron James when he's playing a game. If you watch him play, like the first 2 or 3 quarters, he's kind of just like chilling, leading the game, telling everyone what to do, and then quarter 4 comes up and he just takes over. And that's kind of like how I like to. If you can see that in an athlete, and just be like they know when to push and when to just kind of chill out and just make sure they're governing the floor and everything is happening the way they want it to happen. I think you can start seeing it in like experienced lifters a bit better, where the game just slows down, where it kind of turns from like, holy shit, I have 12 weeks to, oh yeah, I got 12 weeks. You know, that switch in an athlete, I'm like, okay, they're there now. They know when to push. If anyone understood that reference to basketball,
Yeah.
but I'm sure
They have that.
my
oomph.
Filipino lifters understood that. All of them, all of one of them, Nick Manders, understood that.
I've never watched basketball in my life.
Man, you need to watch LeBron James.
I
That's
watch
what you gotta
powerlifting
do.
meets and I watch League of Legends tournaments.
What?
Anyways, Adam. So David gave, I think it was like 4 traits to make like your perfect athlete. I want all of us to do that for some fucking stupid reason. I have this idea in my head. So 1 for you is schizophrenic. What is the other 3?
All right, schizo who can tap into their emotions. Can you come back to me, Kimay?
Mally, give
let me
me
sit on it
4
for a second.
traits to make your perfect athlete. They have that oomph.
They got the oomph.
They're
They
Filipino.
want to work. They want to work really hard, because I feel like I relate to that. I didn't start the sport having potential, but I don't know if I got potential now, but I feel like I'm at some sort of a high point where I know I can get somewhere I want to get. So that kind of ability to like work hard for a really long time. And then, yeah, what Adam said, that like I'm looking for that switch in a person. And I feel like that switch is when a person is going to get to their potential. And then the last thing I would say is they understand when to kind of pull back and push. And that's when I'm like, okay, I created a good athlete.
Adam,
All
are you
right.
ready, or do I need
Yeah.
to fill the space?
No, I mean, obviously they said like a lot of the qualities that I also think are important in an athlete. Like we'll start with the schizo, able to tap into emotions. And then the other big thing is the ability to just set good goals. Like they're a good goal setter. They're consistently finding goals that they can chase down both short term and then set good, big, delusional long-term goals to keep them motivated for a sustainable period in the sport. Ability to take responsibility. And then, what was that, 3?
Yeah, you need a 4th one.
You'll need a 4th one.
No,
You need a
Whatever
4th
you
one,
think
man.
is the best for you.
Nick made it up. I need a 4th one.
You need a 4th one.
They got some swag, you know?
That's honestly real. I don't want
Yeah,
like a
that's real.
swagless athlete.
That's actually a really good point. I don't know if we have time for another one, but a good point is I do tell people to like not copy people. So if someone is like, oh, this lifter is doing this lifter is doing that, I need to be lifting this way and that way. I go, you got to find some swag in your movement. You gotta make it. No one knows exactly how to lift everything. You gotta find your thing with it.
Yeah,
You gotta
make
get
it
your
your
own
own.
swag.
Yeah.
I guess my real last answer is confidence. They are confident. Okay, Nick, what are your 4?
Sounds a lot like yourself, dude.
Nick's about to say the stupidest shit. I'm gonna guess Nick's right now.
No, don't.
1, they
Fuck
can
off.
have fun in the sport. They have fun. I want a lifter who can have fun.
Number one. I do want a responsible athlete. I think that's like a golden trait. Is a responsible athlete that like, you know, knows when to take accountability, but also, you know, won't blindly take accountability. Like, if something isn't their fault, it's not their fault. I've had some people be like, man, I'm so sorry, man. I couldn't get all my meals in today. I was stuck for 4 hours in traffic. I'll do better. And it's like, not entirely your fault. We can fix that next time, but not entirely your fault. So responsibility, consistency. You know, we can have a bunch of things. If we're inconsistent, though, it doesn't matter if we always have like positive traits, because consistency is such a negative trait, and it adds so much noise to the process that it's really difficult to like find. Like, sometimes we just need to be more consistent with things. You know, as consistent as we can be when life allows. You know, some people do have very demanding external jobs that just fuck with that entirely. Third, like I said, is like a willingness to learn. I think that people that just don't want to learn make just not even good, like bad athletes. I just don't think that they make good people. Like, I think that, you know, that old saying of like, the day you stop learning is the day you die. The older I get, the more I'm like, that's probably true.
Who
Right?
said
Like,
that?
I don't know.
Who said that?
I don't know. Fucking Sisyphus.
Yeah,
I don't
just
know.
coach those people too.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
LeBron James said that.
LeBron James.
Yeah, Kobe said that.
This is a famous LeBron quote, dude. What do you mean?
What? No way.
And I guess like fourth is like 600 dots would be cool. If they had that. Yeah, make my job easier.
Can I say one more thing that I kind of just
No,
remembered
you got
that I hate?
4.
Come on,
You have 4 grades.
please.
You're making a fucking.
It's a new
folder, dude.
point. Let me say another
Make your-
point.
Make your point, Melly.
Bro, I hate people who make excuses. So even
Bro,
after
Doesn't that just fall under self-responsibility?
no,
I was gonna hit us with a crazy game-changing point. Like,
Adam literally said he hates victims.
oh yeah, that's true. Well, excuses suck. So anyone who makes excuses after competitions, I hate them. I'm trying to figure out how.
Are you
to
talking
make them not do
specifically
that.
about after competitions? Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
I'm saying like after competitions or even after blocks and stuff, they started making excuses or victim mindset. That sorry, but I just remembered that. My bad. I forgot Adam already said that shit. Alright. It's like 9:42. I usually go to bed in 20 minutes. I'm tired.
dude, it's midnight for me. What do you mean you don't get that card? I was sleepy before this started.
I don't care. I'm 30 years old. I get to sleep more than you.
And in saying this, so we don't have any more repeats, because these old men need to get to bed. That concludes. What episode is this, dude?
Make
It's
up
like,
a round now.
is it technically our 3rd? It's like our 6th episode. I don't know.
It's our
That
third.
concludes the
Third.
Cleany Weedy Hut Podcast, episode 3. We'll catch you guys in the next episode where we discuss. I don't know, who's Mally's favorite basketball player? I don't know. Is it
LeBron James.
Okay, well, on episode
Jeremy
5,
Lin.
we'll discuss something else now. Asshole.